You are sitting on the couch after a long day. The television is on, your phone is in your hand, and you are not paying attention to anything in particular, and then you feel it. That weight. You look up, and your dog is just sitting there, 3 feet away, staring directly into your eyes. Not blinking, not asking for food, not waiting by the door, just looking at you with an expression you cannot quite name. Most people brush this off. They assume the dog wants something. A treat, a walk, maybe dinner is 5 minutes late. But here is the problem with that explanation. If your dog just wanted food, they would go stand by the bowl. If they wanted outside, they would go to the door. Dogs are excellent at signaling specific needs. They know how to get what they want. So when your dog sits down and locks eyes with you for no apparent reason, they are not asking for anything. They are doing something far more significant, and behavioral neuroscience can now tell us exactly what it is. In 2015, a team led by Miho Nagasawa at Azabu University in Japan published a study in the journal Science that changed how researchers understand the relationship between dogs and humans. They brought 30 dog owner pairs into a room and let them interact freely for 30 minutes. Before and after, they collected urine samples and measured levels of oxytocin, the neurochemical your brain releases when you feel bonded to someone. The dogs who spent the most time gazing at their owners showed a roughly 130% increase in oxytocin. Their owners showed a 300% increase. The gaze itself was triggering a chemical bond in both species simultaneously. But here is the part that stunned the research community. They ran the same experiment with 11 wolves that had been raised by humans from birth. Wolves who were comfortable around people. Wolves who had known their handlers for years. The oxytocin loop did not activate at all. Not in the wolves. Not in their handlers. 0 increase. The same room. The same interaction. The same 30 minutes. The chemistry only fired between dogs and humans. Think about what that means. When your dog stares at you, they are not just looking. They are activating the exact same neurochemical system that bonds a mother to her newborn child. And they are the only animal on the planet that can do this with a human. But this raises a question that cuts deeper. How did dogs learn to do this? Because wolves cannot. And dogs descend from wolves. Something changed during domestication, and in 2019, researchers found part of the answer, not in behavior, but in anatomy. Julianne Kaminski and Bridget Waller at the University of Portsmouth in England, along with Anne Burroughs at Duquesne University in the United States, dissected the faces of 6 domestic dogs and 4 gray wolves. They were looking for differences in muscle structure around the eyes. What they found was published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. Dogs have a well-developed muscle called the levator anguli oculi medialis that raises the inner eyebrow. It is the muscle responsible for what we call puppy dog eyes, that wide, soft, almost pleading expression. In wolves, that muscle barely exists. Just thin fibers embedded in connective tissue. Dogs produce the inner brow, raise movement significantly more often and at far higher intensity than wolves. The most intense versions of the expression were produced exclusively by dogs, and here is where it connects back to your life. An earlier study by Waller found that shelter dogs who produced this brow raise more frequently were adopted faster. A dog making 15 brow raises in 2 minutes spent roughly 28 days in the shelter. A dog making only 5 spent closer to 50. Your dog did not just learn to look at you. Over thousands of years, dogs that were better at making this face were more likely to survive, be chosen, be fed, be kept. Evolution sculpted a muscle specifically designed to make your dog's eyes irresistible to you. But not every stare your dog gives you means the same thing. And this is the part that most people get wrong. In 2009, Alexandra Horowitz at the Dog Cognition Lab at Barnard College tested 14 dogs in a carefully controlled experiment. She wanted to know whether the so-called guilty look, that wide-eyed, head-lowered stare dogs give when you come home to a chewed shoe, actually reflects guilt. She set up conditions where some dogs ate a forbidden treat and others did not. Then she either told owners the truth or lied to them about what happened. The result was unambiguous. The guilty look had nothing to do with whether the dog had actually done anything wrong. It correlated with whether the owner scolded them. Dogs who were completely innocent but scolded by misinformed owners showed more guilty behaviors than dogs who had actually broken the rule. The effect was massive. What owners interpret as guilt is actually a submissive appeasement response to your body language. Your dog is not reflecting on what they did. They are reading you. And that ability to read you goes deeper than most people realize. Researchers at the University of Lincoln in the United Kingdom discovered in 2008 that dogs display something called a left gaze bias when looking at human faces. They preferentially scan the right side of your face first, which is the more emotionally expressive side. Dogs only do this with human faces, not with other dogs, not with objects, not even with inverted human faces. They have developed a face-reading strategy tuned specifically to decode your emotions. And here is where it gets uncomfortable. A 2017 study by Bridget von Holt at Princeton University found that the genetic basis for dog sociability maps to the same chromosome region responsible for Williams-Beuren syndrome in humans, a condition that causes extreme hypersociability and an inability to stop seeking social contact. The structural variants in two key genes were present only in domestic dogs, not in wolves. Your dog's drive to stare at you, to seek your face, to lock eyes across the room, is not a choice in the way we usually think about choices. It is a genetic predisposition baked into their DNA by thousands of years of selection for animals that could not stop reaching toward humans. If your dog has been watching you like this for months or years and one day they stop, do not brush it off. Changes in eye contact and gaze behavior are among the earliest signals of pain, cognitive decline, or emotional distress in dogs. A dog that suddenly avoids your eyes may be experiencing discomfort they cannot describe. A dog that begins staring at walls or into corners may be showing early signs of canine cognitive dysfunction. Your dog does not have words. Their gaze is the most precise language they have. When it changes, they are telling you something has shifted and it deserves your attention. So the next time you look up from your phone and find your dog just sitting there, staring at you with that soft, quiet expression, understand what is actually happening. 15,000 years of coevolution, a neurochemical feedback loop that exists in no other interspecies relationship on Earth, and a facial muscle that was sculpted by natural selection specifically to reach you. That look is not random. It is not boredom. It is the most ancient and most documented form of interspecies bonding science has ever recorded. And your dog is doing it on purpose. If this changed how you see that quiet stare, subscribe and leave a comment. I want to know, what does your dog do when you finally look back at them?